Welcome back, Cheese Wheel Collectors, to another episode of Video Game World Tours, a series where we slow down and soak in a game's environment. Today we're looking at the chilly, mountainous province of Tamriel, Skyrim. Before we get to the weird spots of the game, we need a baseline. What is the most normal area of Skyrim? Despite being a region absolutely infested with steep and snowy peaks, when I think of Skyrim, I think of the gentle, rolling hills of Whiterun Hold. Don't get me wrong, I think the mountains in this game are interesting, but they all kind of feel the same when you're climbing them. Sightlines are often blocked by trees or other mountains. It's hard to get your bearings a lot of the time. Here though, it's so open. The mountains that tower over you nearly everywhere else in the province are way out in the distance. So many landmarks are visible from any one spot, and you're free to journey to whichever fancies you. You really feel the scale of the world here. Look at that little thing in the distance. What even is that? I love the implicit promise Skyrim makes to you that you can travel wherever you want, and it'll take you a good while to get there. Maybe not as long as it would in Daggerfall, but hey, that's a tour for another day. While there are games with bigger worlds that came out before and after Skyrim, this world isn't small by any means. On your journey, you'll come across some dungeons to raid or enemy camps to clear, but there's more to Skyrim than that. There will be points where you're just holding forward and doing nothing else. You have to consider the mise-en-scene. The foliage stretching out into the distance, wildlife minding their own business, little rocks dotted around, the textures, the lighting, the weather. You might not even think about any of those things in the moment, but they all come together and shape your perception of the world. The environmental artists did a good job making the world itself interesting when there's no named landmarks at all. We'll talk more about that later though. Let's look at the place most people are probably familiar with, Whiterun. The main quest brings you here pretty early on and has you coming back throughout it. You're given access to a follower, a house, and merchants all close by. It's a pretty damn good place to call home in the early game. I would consider myself pretty familiar with Whiterun. I only beat Skyrim's main quest for the first time a couple weeks ago, but I've started a ton of playthroughs over the years, and I always spend a lot of time in this city. I am intimately familiar with the player home here. Belethor's General Goods, Jorvaskr, Dragon's Reach. Gosh, I came here so much to disenchant items. But hold on, I almost always went straight to the enchantment table and straight out. I very rarely explored this place. I mean, I did it once or twice, but I couldn't draw you a proper map of Dragon's Reach. I definitely remember these steps going up to the Jarl's quarters, but what's this down here? I have no memory of this place. I am literally forming new synapses right now. Now sure, if I was a super diehard Skyrim player and did every single quest I came across, maybe I would have come down here. I'm just assuming a quest objective does lead you here. Maybe one doesn't. I have no idea. Skyrim is such a big game. You have to pick and choose your battles when it comes to which piece of content you will grace with your precious attention. I was too busy killing Draugr and doing the main quest to explore the Jarl's dungeon. But it's cool that it feels like there's always something new to discover. Like I didn't even know this basement area existed. And what about the upstairs of Belethor's shop? I've been in here dozens of times, but I don't think I've ever walked up these steps. Nothing too crazy up here, not sure what I expected. Or any of these random buildings. So many of these might as well not even have interiors, because I have no reason to enter them. Like Olivia the Feeble's house, I can guarantee you that I've never been in here. How many of you have even entered her home? Be honest, I'll know if you're lying. That's not to say it was a waste for Bethesda to make this house. Even if it doesn't serve a purpose in any quest, it's good background noise. It's filler for the city. This lady has to live somewhere. Why not give her her own house? It doesn't have to be some two-story thing like the player home. Just a tiny little room is all she needs. I bet this was thrown together in an afternoon by some level designers. And it's cool that it just exists alongside all these other buildings. There are so many of these that I've never even been in. Like this one, the Temple of Kinnereth. I have no idea what to expect going in. Wow, that's beautiful. I genuinely wasn't expecting an interior like this, even for a temple. All this natural light, with the foliage dangling from above. You're drawn to the central area. This mosaic piece shows a bird, referencing how Kinnereth is usually depicted with a bird nearby. At each of the corners of the mosaic are tiny little pools of water. They're almost easy to miss if you aren't paying attention. What an awesome little area. I almost called it a hidden away area, but it's not really hidden. I must have walked past this building 50 to 100 times in my current playthrough, yet I never went inside. And if you haven't either, at least now you've seen it. As open as this game is, it's easy to put on your horse blinders and let the game guide you along where it wants you to go. While the main questline will take you to cities all over the map, there are still so many that are left out of the loop. Like Dragonbridge. There are only 3 quests in the game that will direct you from somewhere else into this town, and there's only one tiny little errand to do for someone when you do arrive. Admittedly, those quests that bring you into Dragonbridge are part of bigger quest lines, being the Dark Brotherhood and Dawnguard. I was directed here through the Dawnguard DLC. The quest sent me here to capture a certain NPC, and you know what I did? I walked into town, asked one person to figure out where the NPC was, and immediately left the town after discovering they weren't there. I didn't pay attention to any of the fine details of this place, the geography surrounding the town. Hell, I couldn't even tell you how many buildings are in town. There's 5, by the way. Take the Dragonbridge Lumber Camp. First of all, it's a locked door, so there's already a barrier between you deciding to randomly enter or not. You either have to pickpocket the key or pick the lock yourself. Of course, once you get in, it's a completely normal building. There's no secret room or treasure hidden in here. It's just some guy's place. How many players have been down here? Think of how many people have played Skyrim. I read that Skyrim sold like 60 million copies. How many of those people have explored this random basement, in this random house, in this random town? And again, it's not like there's anything special to observe here, but this is someone's house. Well, it looks like a house, but nobody sleeps in here. The brothers who own the lumber mill go to sleep in their own house, so why are these beds here? Look at how well decorated this is. Bookshelves with tons of items on them. Goat horn light fixtures all over the place. Mounted animal heads. Food on the table. Who's eating all of this? It's almost like the level designers furnished a house for a family to live here, but forgot to include the family. Horgir and his family already have a place. And look at this. I caught his brother sleeping with his wife while he's in the room. There's dialogue that indicates this isn't just a bug, there's actually an affair going on. But Horgir sleeps in the bed for one, while his brother Lodvar sleeps in the bigger bed with Horgir's wife. Does he know? Or is he... I won't judge. Moving on. Karthwasten is another one of those towns off the metaphorical beaten road. Only one full-on side quest brings you here, as well as one smaller task. Karthwasten Hall is pretty much just the Dragonbridge lumber camp from earlier. Layout is roughly the same, but it's interesting how they were able to change the vibe up so well just by what items they placed down. Like this little straw guy down here. That's cute. Enmon's house is the generic two-story building of the game. A pretty cozy living space, admittedly. Look at all that food, my goodness. This is a mining town, so I guess we should look at one of the mines. Oh, wow. I wasn't actually expecting to see something with scale like this. That's impressive. Most mines are usually claustrophobic, so it's nice to have a bigger one for once. This is too big, right? There's only a handful of miners mining at any given time. I can't imagine how long it would have taken them to dig out all these tunnels and give them such high ceilings. Maybe I'm asking too many questions. Let's just take in this nice settlement for what it is. There are over 400 named locations discoverable in Skyrim across the base game and its DLCs. Specifically, over 400 locations with little map markers on your compass that you can fast travel to. From cities like Solitude with bustling streets and towering buildings, to Cradle Crush Rock, a giant camp home to a lone giant with his unusually large cheese wheel. These are all places the game deems worthy enough to have a name and be pointed out on your map. But what about the areas that aren't deemed worthy of a name? Northeast of Cradle Crush Rock is a statue of the god Talos. Admittedly, these aren't rare. There's a handful of them throughout Skyrim. We even saw one in Whiterun earlier. But I don't know, this feels special, right? Something about the statue on the far side of this little pond, how it looms over, it's kind of striking. How was this shrine meant to be used? I think people were supposed to come to the feet of the statue, because there are some stairs here, but there's no obvious path leading from the shoreline to the bit of land here. There are these stone structures half sticking out of the pond, so maybe this pool of water wasn't here when the shrine was initially built. It's obvious, whatever purpose this did serve, it no longer serves. How many years in the past was this built, and what did it look like back then? Bethesda is really good at getting you to ask questions like that, just from how they design the environment. Like this location, southeast of Yukar's monument. I was roaming across the land, killing beasts to level up as a vampire, when I came across this place. A dead adventurer and a skeleton. Must have been a gruesome fight here at some point. These games are full of corpses placed around like that, so it's not really surprising to find them just out in the wild. Though I wonder what could have defeated them. I killed a few mud crabs when I got here. Surely a few tiny crabs couldn't defeat a geared up warrior like that guy. Oh. Yeah, giant mud crabs apparently exist in Skyrim. This husk is all you see of them, but it's terrifying to think that they might be out there, hiding, biding their time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This tiny little pocket of the world tells a story. This adventurer perhaps wandered into somewhere a bit out of his depth. Maybe he fought valiantly, and maybe he even killed this giant mud crab. But eventually he succumbed to his wounds, face down in the dirt. It's practically a meme how Bethesda does environmental storytelling through carefully placed corpses in the world, but it works. It's a great way to reward players who pay attention. Like this corpse along the north coast of Skyrim. You find the charred remains of a woman named Ysra. She's hunched over, clutching her chest. Flames are actually still alight around her. And what else do you find here but a spell tome, for Flame Cloak, a spell that envelops you in flames, damaging all enemies near you. It's obvious the spell went haywire and consumed her, and she's just out here, all alone with nobody to save her. Near this Shrine of Talos, also along the north coast of Skyrim, is another body where, well, there's supposed to be a body here. It wouldn't be a Skyrim video without a bug. But regardless, just imagine there was a body here. Actually, let me get one for demonstration purposes. There. You find a body surrounded by skeevers, as well as 2 scrolls. 1, a scroll of calm, and 2, a scroll of fury. It's very likely they got the spells mixed up and sent these skeevers into a frenzy. These 2 bodies, alongside 2 other ones, were part of a cut quest that had you searching for missing apprentices of the College of Winterhold. In the release version of the game, that quest doesn't exist. All that's left are these unmarked locations with a little story to tell. There are so many random little things like these to find in the game, and it feels so much more meaningful when you come across one and the game doesn't draw attention to it. Like if I walked up here and text popped up on screen saying, "Giant mud crab husk discovered," this place would blend into the other 400 named locations in the game. But because it doesn't announce its presence, you have to discover it yourself. I'm sure a player or two have walked past this area at night, killed the mud crabs, and left without realizing there's a giant mud crab shell here. But like I said earlier, the fact that you literally notice these things yourself, it feels more special. We've talked about a major city, towns that are a little less well-known, and unmarked locations with stories to tell. But what about areas with no story to tell? There are some places in Skyrim that stick out to me just because of their sheer beauty. This area northeast of Palewater Run is stunning. These trees, the river, the fog pouring out from behind the mountains. I generally prefer the flatter areas of Skyrim, but this area gives me an appreciation for the scale of the landscape in this province. And it has nothing, quote, to do in it. It's just a transitory path you walk from one location to another. But it helps that these areas are interesting so you don't zone out and go on autopilot when walking to your quest objective. There's this stream southeast of Talking Stone Camp. This isn't even super majestic like the place we just looked at, but this still struck me when playing the game. Something about the sheer simplicity of this scene right here really made me appreciate Skyrim's art style. There were definitely some times during my most recent playthrough where I was a bit more sour on the style of the game world. Maybe it was a mood thing, I don't know. Sometimes the game just feels drab and lifeless, especially if you're in caves a lot. But when you're outside and the sun is shining, you're reminded that this game is beautiful a lot of the time. So many winding paths take you through thick forests with the light peering through the treetops. It's mesmerizing. Alright, enough of those no-name places. Let's visit a few yes-name places, like the Ancestor Glade. This is another area part of the Dawnguard questline. You enter the Ancestor Glade cave, and your companion, Serana, seems less than impressed. And honestly, I am too. Like, I guess this is kinda cool for a cave. They're usually just rocks and dirt, so a little bit of foliage is welcome. But this is still pretty much just a cave. Maybe it's just the expectations set by the name Ancestor Glade, but I imagine something grand and spiritualistic. This is just some cave. Yeah, that's about right. This is a place worthy of the name Ancestor Glade. All these trees, the rock walls reaching up to the surface, this central area, it all conveys a sense of importance. Serana remarks that no one's been here in centuries. I don't know if she knows that for sure, but it does feel like that's true. It's not technically true, because you can find treasures like gold pouches or weapons, but don't let that affect the vibes. This is a place that's been untouched by sentient life for centuries. This area represents the beauty of nature in Skyrim. Like, you don't need towering buildings or other man-made industrial feats to be striking. Just some rocks, trees, and water, arranged in an interesting way, can be enough sometimes. Okay, one more location, then we visit my favorite spot in the game. All the areas we've looked at have been in the realm of humanity. Now, let's travel to one of the many planes of oblivion, Apocrypha. Outside of humanity's domain, we find ourselves in a strange place. A domain controlled by Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Forbidden Knowledge. Spires of books reach out into the distance. Hallways bend and shift, making you question your own perception of reality. Icky, paint-like goop covers the area. It's so detached from everything we've seen in the land of Skyrim. While it is a fantasy world, it's still somewhat grounded in real life. Like, most of the landmarks throughout the world are slight remixes of things we know of. You know what a creek is. You know what cities are. You've been in a house before. But what about something beyond the mortal plane? Does such a thing even exist? If so, what would it look like? If it does exist, we can't perceive it. We have no context for what it should look like. Apocrypha is built in the image of a being who would want to hoard vast amounts of knowledge. So of course, books are piled everywhere. But it's not just a normal library. It has that evil, demonic twist with tentacles gyrating about everywhere. I guess it does pull some inspiration from real life, in that libraries have a lot of books, and this place has a lot of books. But come on, would you go down to your local library if it looked like this? Favorite spot in the game time. At the northeastern corner of the map, you'll find a little place called Refugees' Rest. It's named after the fact that it was a meeting place for people fleeing Morrowind. Some years ago, a series of natural disasters occurred in Morrowind, least of which being Red Mountain's eruption. The whole province was thrown into disarray, and the native Dunmer people fled to neighboring provinces. Being on the border of Skyrim, this path was an obvious one to take. You can find a book detailing the purpose of this fort, as well as the Jarls across Skyrim coming together to decree this place a monument to Morrowind refugees. I like that this shows Skyrim was united once. With the Civil War and everything going on, it feels like Skyrim is tore apart. But this monument shows that its people were together once. All the Jarls agreed to build this fort to help the Dunmer refugees assimilate into Skyrim, a sign of a simpler time. Walking the road east toward Morrowind, you eventually hit the world border. Skyrim is a big game with a lot to explore, but you aren't allowed to go over this hill. It gets you thinking about not just literally what's past this hill, but what metaphorically lies for you in future Elder Scrolls adventures. People have spent the last decade exploring Skyrim and everything it has to offer. And of course, game worlds have to end at some point. They can't just be infinitely large. Even Minecraft has a world border. But what if we could walk over this hill and explore a bit more? What if we could explore the province of Cyrodiil, of Daggerfall, of Morrowind, of Hammerfell? Those are tours for another day. What's your favorite place in Skyrim? I might do an episode in the future where I cover spots you suggest, so drop them in the comments. It's not going to be in the immediate future, as I'm kinda busy with another game at the moment. Speaking of which, check out my tour of Starfield if you haven't seen it. Or if you have, watch this random video YouTube seems to think you'll like for some reason. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.